Welcome back to Ghost Pirate Entertainment. I'm your host, Callan Becker, and today we review Shadow in the Cloud. So I just went and saw Shadow in the Cloud last night at the drive-ins. And my first thing I gotta say is kind of a disclaimer, I guess, so to speak. And that is, if this was released to Netflix or some streaming platform where it was basically free or at least included in your monthly subscription, I think I would be a lot less harsh on it. But because it's $20 to stream right now through your streaming platforms, Amazon Prime, YouTube, etc., or you're spending, if you have a theater that's showing it near you or driving, you're spending $10+ on it to see it there. So this is a full-priced, full-on movie that is not cheap. This movie was not cheap to make. You could tell that quite a bit of money and time was put into this film. So because of those things, I'm not going to hold back, and I'm going to see it through the lens of, hey, this is a high-budget, high-end movie that deserves criticism if it's not good. They're asking you to pay $20, so that means I should treat it and review it, so to speak, react to it, so to speak, as a full-on new release, and that's what I'm going to do. So with that in mind, I'm not a huge fan of this movie. I found elements about it fun. There were a lot of fun elements about it in general, but there was a lot of things that held it back from really being even a good movie. If anything, at best, this is kind of maybe an okay average movie. Like if this was on Tubi and it was free, then I would be like, hey, you got nothing else to watch, you're looking for something to watch, yeah, check it out, it's cool, it's not bad. That's how I'd react to it. But the fact you got to pay money for it, $20 to stream it, my friend almost streamed it for $20. Luckily, I think I stopped him in time, and so he's not going to waste his money on it. Instead, I wasted my $10 or whatever to go see it at the drive-ins. So a lot of my problems I have with this film are to do with the script. And I understand that there was an approach taken in this where they were trying to, bring awareness or at least fight some against sexism and sexual harassment and things along those lines, somewhat of the Me Too movement type of stuff, which, I don't know. If you know me well, you know I'm a huge fan of that and I'm way behind it. I cannot tell you how much I am bothered by the way a lot of women in this country are treated, be it at their jobs or in Hollywood or just in a lot of different ways. But there's a way to go about it. For instance, in the movie Black Christmas that came out a couple years ago, I had a problem with that for the same reasons that I have a problem with this. Because if you're trying to put a light on something like that, and then you go way over the top, and you push it in your face, and you force it down someone's throat, and it's taken to the extreme of unrealistic and something that could literally never take place, at least to this level, then it loses credibility for me. And once you lose credibility on that, then it's hard for me to get any positive message or learn anything. And I have a hard time seeing anybody learning from this. So I'm not sure what they were trying to accomplish with this because it just feels annoying and very unrealistic. So to give you a little context, she basically needs to get aboard of this airplane to transport some top secret something or other that's in this box. And don't worry, I'm going to keep this spoiler free. It's hard because a lot of the things I would like to talk about would spoil this. So I'm not going to go there. I'm going to try to keep it to where you can watch this and have no problem with still watching the movie and getting the twists and turns and the surprises that are in there. So she's trying to get aboard this plane, and it's an all-male crew. This takes place in World War II, and she is an officer. She lets them know right away that she's an officer, and she gives them these papers saying that, hey, her higher-ups, the top brass, so to speak, gave this letter saying that she is ordered to take this plane and travel, I forget where they're going, but to travel with this crew. And yet this crew just berates her with horribly sexualized, just awful stuff. I mean, saying you can, literally talking about you could suck my dick, baby, like shit along those lines. Like being extremely, extremely sexist. And I'm sorry, I know that, sexual misconduct and stuff happened back then. And I know that people were way less careful and men were a lot more piggish when it came to a lot of this stuff. But there was never a time, and this is in my opinion from what I have read and what I do know, there was never a time when it would have been just a really common thing for a whole entire crew to sexually harass an officer. Okay, I'm sorry. I just have a really hard time buying that. And if you know more about history than I do, and you know of things along the lines of this, I mean, first see this movie, so you see the level of it that I'm talking about. Like, I'm aware that there would have been some, sexual things and harassment and whatnot that would have been done, but like to this degree, it's ridiculous. I mean, it's so over the top. Either way, though, this loses credibility for me right away. And this movie doesn't have credibility. This is meant to be kind of a silly, all reality out the window type of thing. And that's cool. I'm good with that. If it's just a fun creature feature type of film. But then when you bring in a really serious subject like this and you're trying to get some kind of message across, I feel like they just don't go together at all. Oil and water kind of thing. And I just found that to be offensive. I'm not going to lie. I found it to kind of be offensive. Then the other stuff I just really disliked was it would be serious in one way and then just way ridiculous, over the top in other ways. And stuff, without spoiling it, I can't tell you exactly what I'm talking about, but there was stuff where it's like, dude, you can't have both. There's no way that you can do this or that this would happen and yet be realistic still and deal with things in this real type of way over here. I mean, it's just too many back and forths, no consistency in the dialogue, no consistency in the story. And then there's a huge twist about halfway through the movie. And let me first tell you that up to the halfway point, I was at least engaged in this movie. I had issues, like I said, but I was at least engaged. Then there's this huge left turn where to me, everything just went out the window and it became just completely stupid, very soap opera, things that even more didn't mix even more than it had already been. And just ludicrous stuff starts happening. There are these creatures that they don't tell you much about, so I'm not going to spoil anything by telling you about them. They're there, which you can see in the trailer and everywhere. I mean, you see these creatures, but that's it. Like, you've never, as far as I remember, and maybe I missed something somewhere, but they don't really ever go into what these creatures are, why these creatures are there, and what these creatures are even trying to do. And my biggest grief with the creatures, one, they're not even really in the movie much at all, so they really don't have a purpose. It just felt to me like I don't even know why these are in this movie. Like, they were just kind of shoved in this movie so that they could be like, hey, we got these monster creatures. But it's not even that so much as the CGI. Just so bad. And obvious green screens over and over were used, and it just was very, very apparent. And these creatures, they're just so bad. And this does not appear to be a low-budget movie. And you could see how much promoting and advertising they've put behind this. So it's not like this is a low-budget, made for streaming type of movie that had a very low budget and couldn't put a lot into the CGI. So I don't know what was going on there. I don't get it, but it just didn't do it for me at all. The soundtrack I thought was really, just didn't fit the movie at times, and I just didn't really like it. It just didn't feel at all like it's supposed to be this period piece, but the music was totally not from that, and the whole movie felt confused. Like, it didn't know what it wanted to be, and like it was just trying to be a lot of different things, but none of those things really fit and clicked together. The only bright spot in the movie to me was Chloë Grace Moretz. I hope I said that correct, but she was outstanding. I really like her. She's very likable, and yes, she's beautiful, but that's not why she was my bright spot. It was her energy, her likability, her wit. She just was fun to watch and did a really good job in this role. And you could tell she really went for it and did everything that she could do to kick this, over the goalposts or whatever. I mean, you could tell she went for it and tried to do her very best with this role. But beyond her, if you take her out of this movie, there's pretty much no reason to watch this. And that's in my opinion. And keep in mind, I am not a fan of CGI, especially when it's CGI and big boom, and that's pretty much all the movie has to draw you in. When that's all a movie has, I'm just like, that's my thoughts. That's my 2 cents. That's going to do it for me today. Please hit that subscribe button and ding that little bell, because that's the best way to keep track of this channel and when I post videos like this. And I'm posting videos like this at least twice every week, except for weeks like this when you get an extra review like this one. And I want to give a big shout out to all my patrons that keep growing every day. You guys are seriously my rock and just keep helping me in so many different ways behind the scenes. But if you would like to become a patron or at least find out more about it, the link is down in the description. Like always, thank you so much for watching. Please crush that like button. And remember, guys, horror can be fun. I will see you guys next time.